Well, now we're on lesson 11 and unit 2. Still talking about measures. But then it's something a little bit different from what we've talked about in the last slides. This time around, we're talking about converting units of length. Now we've been able to understand the proper units for measuring different objects. And what next? We need to also understand how to convert from one unit of length to another. I know you remember the MCMK. Like I said earlier, anytime the units for measuring length comes to your mind, what comes to your mind? MCMK. And what is MCMK again? Millimeters, centimeters, meters, and correct, kilometers. Okay, now how do we convert from kilometers to meters, from meters to kilometers, from centimeters to millimeters, or from millimeters to kilometers, or from millimeters, to centimeters? Now, being able to convert from one unit of this length to another is also very important. So, at the end of this lesson, we must be able to convert from one unit of length to another one. So let's see what we have next. Converting units of length. Now here we have a kilometer. I said to you earlier we use it to measure the distance between two places. A meter is smaller than a kilometer. And now this is what you need to know here. We need 1,000 meters to make a kilometer. We need 100 centimeters to make a meter, and we need 10 millimeters to make a centimeter. I made something quite handy here for you. I made a chart. That's the unit of length chart. So you can easily look at this to know what to do. Now there are also rules for converting units of length. When you're converting a bigger unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. And when you're converting a smaller unit to a bigger unit, you divide. Now, what is an example of a bigger unit and a smaller unit? For example, a millimeter is smaller than a centimeter. If we're converting from millimeter to centimeter, we're converting from a small unit to a big unit. So what do? We divide. But if we were converting from centimeter to millimeter, we're converting from a big unit to a small unit. So we multiply. Now you will understand better in the next slide. Let's go ahead. Now we have our student book here. You can open your student book, and we have converting units of length. Now let's learn this together. Toby measures the length of a key with a ruler. And of course, his answer is 5 centimeters. Okay? Now, what we expected to do is to convert the length to millimeters, because the question says what is the length in millimeters. The key is 5 centimeters. Now convert 5 centimeters to millimeters. What is the first thing we do? The key is 5 centimeters. How many millimeters will it be? The second thing we do, the CT means the converting table. Okay, the converting table. That's the converting table at the right hand corner of the screen. Let's look at it. Now we're converting centimeter to millimeter. Let's look at where we have centimeter and millimeter. That's the last one here. We have 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeter. Then we write that on the screen. Now the second thing you look at, are we converting from bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger? We're converting from centimeter to millimeter. Remember we said a centimeter is bigger than millimeter. That means we're converting bigger to smaller. What do? Multiply. So we multiply 5 centimeters by 10 millimeters and we have 50 millimeters. So the key is 5 centimeter and in millimeters it is 50 millimeters. Let's try the other example we have. The line below is 120 millimeters long. The question says, how long will it be in centimeters? What do? Let's write the line is 120 millimeters. How many centimeters would it be? Let's look at the conversion table again. We have to look at the one that contains millimeters and centimeters. Let's look at that. Millimeters and centimeters is still the last one. That's 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. And we're converting from smaller units to bigger units. Smaller units to bigger units. What do? We divide when converting from smaller to bigger units. So 120 millimeters divided by 10 millimeters is 12 centimeters. So the line is 12 centimeters. What about the third one? It says a sign has a height of 3 meters. How many centimeters is that? What comes to your mind first? We're dealing with meters and centimeters. Let's look again at our conversion table. Meters and centimeters. What do we have in the meter and centimeter? 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So the sign is 3 meters and we have to convert to centimeters. The conversion table says 1 meter is 100 centimeters. What are we going to do? We're converting from bigger to smaller units. Of course, you know that meters is bigger than centimeters. So we have to multiply. 3 multiplied by 100 centimeters is 300 centimeters. So the line is, the sign, pardon me, is 300 centimeters. Now I know you understand this very well, but then let's look. I think we have two more examples before we finish. A piece of rope has a length of 240 centimeters. How long is that in meters? Now you notice I have put the conversion table and the rules for conversion. I put them somewhere handy so you can look at them while we learn. When you do the work or when you're doing your homeworks, you have to memorize this. Okay? You have to memorize the conversion table and the rules for converting units of length. So let's see the rope. The rope is 240 centimeters. It says, how long is the rope in meters? Now, what two units of length are we dealing with? Centimeters and meters. Let's look at the conversion table and see where we have centimeters and meters. We have 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. Okay. So, the rope is 240 centimeters. We're converting to meters. That means we're converting from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. What do? We divide. So we divide 240 centimeters by 100 centimeters and we have 2.4 meters. Don't worry, you can use your calculator to do the multiplication and the division. Okay? Now finally we have the distance between Jade's house and her cousin's house is 30.8 kilometers. Remember we said that to measure distance, we use kilometers. Okay, now it's saying what is the distance in meters? Which means we can also convert kilometers to meters. Yes. Let's look at the conversion table. What two units of measurement are we dealing with? Kilometers and meters. So let's see what we have for kilometers and meters. We have 1 kilometer equals 100 meter. Okay. Now the second thing to look at, are we converting from bigger to smaller or smaller to bigger? Kilometer is bigger than meter. So it means we're converting from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So what do? We multiply. Now let's multiply 30.8 kilometers by 1000 meters, because 1 kilometer equal to 1000 meters. So we multiply by 1000. Now, if you use your calculator, do you have the answer? The answer is 30,800 meters. So the distance between Jay's house and her cousin Lily's house in meters is 30,800 meters. Alright, I know you have been able to understand very well how to convert units of length.